ARTIVISM is executive produced by ArtUp, hosted by Linda Steele, produced, directed, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN. Hey, this is Linda Steele coming at you again with another episode of ARTIVISM. Today, you are not going to want to miss this one, and you're going to want to tell all of your friends, because my guest today is Paul Thomas. He's known as the Recycle King, and he's here in Memphis, Tennessee, and we're going to have a conversation about Paul's work and ARTIVISM and recycling. So let's hear from Paul. Hey, Paul, how are you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. I think our guests are really going to want to hear about you, so I'd love you to just talk about your background. How did you become an artist, and what type of art do you practice?
Well, my background consists of recycling, basically. That's how I started out doing art. I grew up where I wasn't in a position of being able to afford art supplies and things to do art, so I started dumpster diving. And in the process of dumpster diving, I started finding all this incredible stuff. And finding all this incredible stuff, I realized, hey, what can I make out of this? So actually, that's what was the evolution of my artist creative ability, just finding stuff. It's like a puzzle, putting stuff together. So once I started that, then I said, hey, I'm going to make something wonderful. And people realized, hey, I like that. So I said, wow, maybe I can make a living at this, digging in the trash, making some stuff out of it. So it's been a really interesting evolution of creating art and fashion out of nothing.
This is interesting. Now, I know some of our listeners are thinking about, well, what kind of background got you into this? I mean, did you go to art school? Do you have to go to art school to do this kind of work? Tell us a little bit more about that.
In actuality, my mother was a fashion model, and my father was a dumpster diver. So with the combination of those two, I was produced. I went to school for art, but you know, it's not a must. If you've got a passion for what you do and it's in your blood and you dream and dream and dream, dreams do come true. So just it comes from really working hard. So if it's something you want to do, don't be afraid to do it. Don't let people discourage you. Oh, what are you doing? None of your business. Move out the way. And just do what you do. I mean, literally, have fun doing it. I mean, it's been my life passion. It's taken me a while to actually be able to make it productive enough to really make a living at it. Because being in a city that wasn't too apt to Afro-American artists being creative and making a living, it took a little while to convince them what they were missing. You don't have to go to New York. You can do it here in Memphis. You don't have to go to Paris. You can do it here in Memphis. So there's opportunities here, and with the renaissance of the art industry in Memphis taking off, hey, you can make a living doing art right here in Memphis. It's amazing.
What kind of opportunities do you see, not only right now, but coming up in the future in Memphis and in the South for artists, but artists like you who I really consider creative entrepreneurs?
Well, from what I've been paying attention to, the entire country is paying attention to how art affects economies in underprivileged neighborhoods, how it impacts, how it changed their opinion of who they are, how it builds self-esteem. So I see Memphis at the point of a new renaissance for opportunities of artists being able to express themselves, be able to get grants, be able to make a living. But it's been a little difficult because it hasn't been totally balanced. We'll talk about that later.
I agree. I do think that Memphis, where we are right now and the types of things that we're doing, really puts us at the center of this work, center of practices called creative placemaking, creative enterprise, and that's really what we're talking about here at ARTIVISM. That's one of the sectors in terms of art and social activism, and ARTIVISM is being brought to you today by the KUDZUKIAN Network, and my guest is Paul Thomas, the Recycle King, and I'm your host, Linda Steele. And we were just going ahead and talking about how the intersection of art, social change, and recycling.
In our studio today, we've got Shelby County Mayor Mark Luttrell.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Thank you for accepting it. You know that you could have been doing a bunch of other things.
You know,
but you're hanging out here getting funky with us. That's
and you know, it's interesting you say that because I enjoy just pulling up your interviews and reading back over and listening to them and just learning a lot about the city.
So understand that the mayor is a fan of funky politics.
Funky Politics, Saturday afternoons at 5 p.m. on WYPL.
Hey, this is Linda Steele, and I'm talking to Paul Thomas, the Recycle King, and this is ARTIVISM on the KUDZUKIAN Network. Paul and I have just been talking about his journey through art and being an artist. And so right now, really want to dig into this whole recycling and tell us a little bit more about how you got into using recycled materials as your art form.
Well, Linda, I realized there was a void in this community, so I decided to be the big fish in a little pond. Didn't have to go to New York. I mean, eventually, we'll talk about that later, but I'm supposed to be going later on this year to Fashion Week. But I decided to be the big fish in a little pond and to show people my talents and skills that I've acquired just by reading, studying, following up with my own passion on what I want to do. So with recycling, I realized you can find stuff. It takes a lot for me because I do haute couture, so it takes a lot. But find stuff and make something out of it, and people actually would buy it. You're your own person. You're your own owner. You're your own business entrepreneur. It's easy. Anybody can do it. All you have to do is be focused. People say, oh, I don't have a job. I can't do this. Wah, 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 wah. Get up and figure it out. It ain't rocket science. I mean, really. I mean, you know, so I've realized I've tried to inspire in other people what they can and cannot do realistically. Just like, for instance, I met a lady at a yard sale. And she was like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm looking for some stuff to recycle for a show. And she said, oh, I don't have any. I said, I need some flowers. Oh, I don't have any. And I looked into her heart and looked into her soul. And she said, you know what? I do have some. I've got them in the house. And she brought me inside her house. And we were in Germantown, of course. And she brought me inside of her house and said, you can have the whole box of flowers. And then she said, well, how are you going to do this? I said, you can do this. So I inspired her by planting a seed, and she competed her first time ever of recycling something into fashion. Wow. In the Memphis City Beautiful Trashing Show, and she got first. Wow. Of course, next to me, I was the winner. Of course. But for her first time, so I mean, and she had never done this before, and I've got other people that I said, you can do it, and which they can. Anybody can do it. You just have to have the passion, the desire, and the focus and the endurance just to follow through. A lot of people drop the ball in the middle of the game, you know, and every opportunity is an opportunity. Whether you're getting paid, you can go to events, say, oh, they want you to volunteer, and you go volunteer for this event. All these people is at this event, and guess what? If you meet 1, 2, 3 people, one out of that 3 could be an opportunity to another level. So don't be afraid to give to others. Share your talent and skill, volunteer, help other people in the community. You never know what will come out of it.
That's great. What I was wondering about is While we're talking about recycling, and as you know, this is ARTIVISM, and we're on the KUDZUKIAN network, and we talk about these things about art and the intersection of art and social change. I'm really fascinated by recycling because what I see, and listeners tune into this, because recycling is really a way of protesting against blight and litter and just not of things being wasted. And I think it's really fascinating that you take this to the level of protest with recycling and then turning it into fashion, which is useful and wearable. Talk to us more about that.
Yeah, I can see that being a very important part, because what I realize is we can save the landfills and save our communities for the youth by picking up this stuff. I mean, I want to create my own competition, and I challenge anyone in the city to beat the Recycle King.
You hear that, everyone?
It's a challenge, so it's out there. Come on with it. Because you can just pick up all this stuff, and then your mind started thinking, and it takes creative people to make this world operate. I mean, any form of business, there is a creative thinker that get paid for thinking. So this opportunity was about cleaning up the community and all this blight in our city. Couldn't you imagine all these people who say, I don't have a job? You find all this stuff, you create something, you clean up the city at the same time. It's a win-win. I mean, you know. So actually I started doing this fashion thing. I was always a fashion designer. It was in my mind, and that was part of my personality. But I realized I didn't have any money. I couldn't buy any fashion. So I went to a yard sale and bought a 50-cent magazine, and it inspired me. And I would look at this magazine and dream about the opportunities of what I could and could not do, and I see other people doing. So I took the stuff and started making stuff. And people said, wow, you did that? I'm like, yes, and you can too.
Tell the listeners some of the materials that you found, and what type of wearable art have you created from these materials, so they can just imagine.
Yeah. Okay, one of the most fascinating materials that I've used was Christmas ribbons. There was a flood in Midtown where a lady house was flooded in her basement, and all this material was thrown out on the street. So I stopped by and knocked on the door. I said, do you mind if I dig in the mud and get this stuff? And she said, sure, get all that you want to get. And it was lots and lots of Christmas ribbons and ribbons that you make tying women hair and all that. So I took the ribbons, took them home, washed them, hung them out on the line, and I wove this dress. And this dress was made out of all these vibrant colors of ribbons. And with these ribbons, of course, it took a whole lot, because I do haute couture. It takes a lot. The ribbons were so wonderful that I created a coat of many colors.
Wow.
And the coat of many colors had a couture a gown that was connected to it that had about 4 or 5 feet train on it.
Wow.
And it was the winner for City Memphis Beautiful 2014. And with this same dress, I traveled to the Clinton Museum, where it was the winner for the finale. And every year since then, for the last 6 years, I've been doing fashion shows, which are the recycling trash shows, at the Clinton President Museum, where I am the finale of the show. And they have 100 contestants every year. So isn't that incredible? And the contestants are all students and people picking up trash all over the state of Arkansas to clean up the city. So see how competition and creativity and cleanliness all work together. Yeah.
I like that. Cleanliness, activism, recycling. And once again, all of these things come together on ARTIVISM, and people like Paul, who are really at the intersection of art and social change, art and social activism. These are the types of individuals that we speak to, and this is all brought to you by ARTIVISM on the KUDZUKIAN network with Linda Steele, your host, and today's guest, Paul Thomas, the Recycle King. Paul, I really would not do you justice if I did not talk about one of your masterpieces, which is somewhat of a sculpture. I think it's one of the best examples of recycling and recycling as activism, and that's the Mound Gallery. otherwise known as OMG. Can you tell the audience who may not be in the Memphis area a little bit about what's so special about this place called Orange Mound Gallery?
Oh my goodness, this is a subject that touches my heart. Orange Mound Gallery, first of all, I'm a 6th generational resident of Orange Mound as far as heritage. My family was born there. It was the first Afro-American community built for and built by that Afro-American community. Orange Mound Gallery used to be an abandoned liquor store. Could you believe it? A liquor store. It was full of blight. You had bums and vagrants hanging out all around the city, in the shopping center, and it was just not good for that community. And this is a historical community, so can't we do better? So I got a call from someone who said, I've got somebody who's working on a project, and would you be interested in it? And it's in Orange Mound. I said, I'm in. It's in Orange Mound. Okay, so I went to this space and I was like, wow, what is this? And people said, I don't know what you can do with that. So it was an abandoned liquor store, and in 13 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 days, I actually worked diligently and extremely hard in converting it to a pretty good art gallery. It has a courtyard. We have bookshelves there for books for kids in the back to come in, after school programs to read. It's just an exciting place, and it has impacted that community. So it's been existing about, let's say, a year and a half. And that's not long at all. And we've had 6 major exhibits that has impact the city. The first one was through Rhodes College, the second was through University of Memphis. It goes on and on. And then we've had people that would never come to Orange Mound, believe that, never come to Orange Mound, and they come to OMG Gallery to see and feel the energy. It's a space that has created a phenomenal amount of positive energy in the community for the entire city, because people come and say, what, how did they do this? And the space is not elaborate. It's contemporary, it's elongated, but it has an energy that has inspired people to feel comfortable in their space and to be able to create something to share with the community. It's a really exciting place. I'm sort of speechless in a way, because it's sort of touching my heart when I start thinking about it. It has impacted that community, and the community has never had an art gallery, nor do they have a library. Isn't that something? Wow. But we're working on that.
Well, I want to make sure that everyone hears that. I'm going to have to underscore that, because if you have not been to Memphis, Tennessee to visit Orange Mound Gallery, OMG, please do that. It was a liquor store where we have heard that people have actually, there were stabbings there were robberies, there was certainly loitering, and this place was transformed by Paul. He did the physical transformation of a former liquor store into an art gallery, flex art space, and community gathering space, where we've had several exhibitions, and even our last art performance, the gallery was transformed once again into a black box theater, where the production was about sex trafficking in Memphis, Tennessee. So you must get out to OMG so you can see Paul Thomas' creation. You're listening to ARTIVISM on the KUDZUKIAN Network.
I'll play the blues for you.
Blues in the Basement with Stephanie and T. Shaw.
Some great festivals going on around the tri-state area.
Got your dancing shoes?
Man, as long as I'm with you, baby, I'm always be on my toes.
Drop that zero.
Bring your blues, boo.
I got them.
We'll see you.
Thank you.
Blues in the Basement.
The thrill is gone.
Blues in the Basement, part of the KUDZUKIAN Network.
The thrill is gone away.
You're listening to ARTIVISM. ARTIVISM features conversations with artists, creatives, and citizens working at the intersection of art and social activism. And I'm Linda Steele, your host. I'm a grant maker, change maker, social venture capitalist, and I invest in individuals and projects that use the arts as a vehicle for social change. Hey everybody, welcome back to ARTIVISM. And this is ARTIVISM on the KUDZUKIAN network. And my guest is Paul Thomas, and I'm Linda Steele, your host. And we've been having a fantastic conversation about recycling and activism and fashion as activism and how they all come together, arts and social activism. And Paul, what I'm going to talk to you now about is we've been talking about the benefits and all the glamour, with recycling and fashion. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges. You're an African-American artist. You're based here in Memphis, Tennessee, sometimes called the Bible Belt, obviously the South, the Deep South. Talk to us a little bit about the challenges of being an artist, an African-American artist here, and then also someone who has a unique specialty like recycling and fashion.
Oh my goodness, Linda. Now you just hit it right on the nail on the head. I've been doing this for quite some time, and it's extremely challenging. First, you got to have a space, and for being an African-American male in a competitive art system here in Memphis, it ain't much space for you to get a space.
Why is that, you think?
I haven't figured it out yet. I think they hadn't realized that we are 65% of the population, and we can make an even larger impact on the community. But I left that alone a long time ago. I just figured out, let's make this work for me. I don't even have a studio right now. Things happen, you get a new space, then that changes. I'm looking for a space right now, so if you got a warehouse space that's available, and I'm always looking for support to build different units to make this available for the kids in the community. But it's really been a challenge. I mean, it's just, I don't even have the proper words. Let me think. Well, being an Afro-American artist in Memphis, I've had to adjust and be very flexible to have several jobs at one time just to do what I have a passion for, is create art. So if I'm not making a living or people are not buying my wares, then I go get another job. You just got to do what you got to do. If you have a passion for something, you just have to keep following through. I've applied for all these different grants and and then I find out that, they'll call me and say, well, guess what? We are so sorry you wasn't one of the finalists. And then I find out later that they hadn't even voted on it. So this community is really strange about stuff like that. But this is the Renaissance period here in Memphis, and there are people like Linda Steele and other people in Memphis who realize that it has not been equally balanced, and there are other opportunities coming for Afro-American artists here in Memphis. And I just happen to be the one of them that's in the part of the Renaissance, and there's going to be trying to help other people get opportunities to make this happen.
For our listeners, what Paul is talking about, and this is an issue around the country. Very recently, there was an article about the racial equity in the creative economy, and places like Memphis really are having a difficulty for, they're known actually for African American artists having some difficulty in actually achieving in their art form as a career here in Memphis. So, and there are many other cities where that's happening, but it is definitely a challenge for African Americans in the creative economy. So the things that Paul is talking about, the lack of space or to be able to afford space, the lack of opportunities to apply for grants and commissions, and then once they do, if your art form is considered different or non-traditional, you're not going to receive those commissions and those grants.
Correct.
And then as you want to be an artist, and you're an artist, but then in order to just keep a roof over your head and food in your belly, then you have to do what Paul's talking about, which is get a job so that actually becomes the way so you can finance your art career.
Right.
So, you know, something as, I believe, as visionary as being a recycle artist and a fashion artist can be very, very challenging here. I mean, I'm sure listeners are in many, many other places and think, wow, this is really exciting. But if you're based in certain places, it can be very challenging.
Extremely.
But yet we feel like this is a lab for work like this. And once again, that's why ARTIVISM brings to you people like Paul Thomas, and you can hear from him people who work at this intersection of art and social change who are visionaries. And thanks to ARTIVISM and the KUDZUKIAN network, you're able to learn more and hear more from people like Paul. So Paul, what is on the horizon for you? What's next? And how can people follow you, get in touch with you, connect with you, hear more about you and your visionary work in recycling and fashion activism?
What's on the horizon? My next project is New York Fashion Week, and from there I'll be doing London Fashion Week. Yeah, that's in September the 7th through the 17th. And then from there, there's London Fashion Week. And then from there, I'm working on a few other secret projects. I can't let you know all my secrets because it's called Ancient Chinese Secrets. Keep some of them to yourself. And then I've got a show for the Brooks Museum, which is one of my annual shows that I do in April. I'm doing a bridal show. We got any brides?
Wow, brides out there. Listen, wouldn't it be great to have a wedding gown designed by Paul Thomas, the Recycle King?
And I'm using recyclable pieces and vintage pieces, so it's going to be very interesting, and they will be for sale. You can reach me at Facebook, Paul Thomas, Recycle King. Google me, Paul Thomas, Recycle King. I'm not really good at marketing myself that way, but once you see what I do, you're going to say, wow. And I don't do a whole lot of personal commission because I do a lot of shows. Mm-hmm. So my shows, I create things for people to see. People pay me to look at what I do. But occasionally I do some personalizing things, and I'm a stylist as well. So just to sort of depend. It depends on what the market give me an opportunity to do. I mean, I set what I want to do, but I just follow my dream. So whichever way it goes, that's how it goes. And then I never get up, and I'm always ready for challenges.
And people can see your work right now. Do you still have anything hanging in a bank?
Oh, I've got a commission piece that I did of recycling material. I forgot about that. I do so much, I can't remember everything. I need a publisher. Can I get a publisher?
Yes, publicists out there.
Oh my goodness. I did a piece for Iberia Bank, and it's in the corporate office on Mendenhall and Poplar. It's all out of recycling material. And it's called, what did I call that? Let me see. I can't remember. I think that's the name of it. I can't remember. I think it's called Rolling on the River from Iberia Bank from Mississippi to Tennessee.
Wow.
Yeah.
People go to Iberia Bank in Memphis, Tennessee, and you'll be able to see a work of Paul Thomas. And that was for the designers?
That was for, Linda, let me think. That was for the interior design.
Art by Design.
Art by Design for Arts Memphis 2016. And it's a 4 feet by 6 feet commission piece that says Iberia, and all the material that's used on the artwork is all recyclable material like buttons, clock parts. It tells a story. And our Iberia president went berserk over it. They really went crazy over it. So I was honored to have an opportunity to do that. And that's just what I do. I find stuff. People say, well, how did you think of the idea? Did they tell you what they want to do? No, you don't tell me nothing. What you do is let a real artist do what they do. So if you like what they do, say, hey, create me something, and then let their mind wander. Let them create something wonderful for you. I'm the type of person that I'm going to go over and beyond to make sure that you're pleased with what I do as far as your design. Also, I did something for Art Space, groundbreaking.
Right, that's right.
Oh my goodness, let me tell you about that. That was really incredible. They had these shovels that they wanted you to design something with these shovels. And they had 10 or 12 participants. And I did Memphis Blues Archaeology Dig guitar. So I created a shovel with the guitar on it out of all these discarded material that you would find in an archaeology dig in the backyard of a 100-year home in Memphis. And at the event, these people were going crazy over this guitar. I'm like, why are they going crazy? So when they had the opportunity to go get the guitar, to be a participant in the dig, Barbara Hyde, she was the winner. She knocked everybody over to get to my guitar. And then she goes like, who made this guitar? And I was like, I did. She said, oh my goodness, give me your information. We need to contract you to do a commission piece of your work. And I was like, okay, great. Call me. So every opportunity is an opportunity. So sometimes you do things for a little money. Sometimes you do things for free. But you never know who you're going to meet, who's going to see your work, who's going to be excited, and who could elevate you to the next level of your art.
So you heard it here first, guys. Call Paul Thomas. You've been listening to Artivism on the KUDZUKIAN Network with your host, Linda Steele, and with the great Recycle King and fashion activist, Paul Thomas. Until next time, Linda Steele. I'm out. You will find the Artivism podcast at the intersection of art and social activism. Artivism is executive produced by ArtUp, hosted by Linda Steele, produced, directed, and distributed by KUDZUKIAN.